How's it going, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you enjoyed the rally Supra while it lasted. Due to work commitments, that is basically it for this year. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really keen to do more. But for now, it's back to drift mode. So the drift season starts. I've got 20 days to get this car back to drift mode, ready to go for the first round of Drift South. So pretty much I'm going to rip into it. I'm going to pull all the body panels off, because even though I've hosed the car down, all side, like inside the side skirts and stuff, just stuff full of mud. Jack it all up, change the suspension, take off all the underbody protection stuff that I've done, and there is a few other bits and pieces which I've got, which I'd like to do if I have time. I really want to re-powder coat all the rear end, do front wheel bearings, and I've also got some new brake calipers. Evo Brembos are getting real hard to find, so I actually got some Z33 remans. Well, you know, it'll look like dual Brembos. I've got Evos on one side and I have those on the other. They are a different bolt pattern, so I'll have to make up a new bracket to fit that. So whether I get time or not, who knows. Still got small brakes on the front, so I'd like to get these, all my brakes powder coated and all the rear arms powder coated. But as I said, I got 20 days. Might be a little unrealistic. I don't want to get myself in trouble time wise. So we'll see. I'll make the decision. If I can get all the arms and stuff off pretty smartly, then I'll just send them down to get powder coated with the brakes, and see how we go. But first things first, I'll pull all the body panels off and see how much mud there is. Well, this was most definitely a very good idea. Those panels are very heavy with mud. These tyres were not long for this world. Yeah, big cut out of that. I think I need to cut my guards up higher, because with that really soft suspension, I guess it kept on bottoming out. And I plan on running some pretty soft suspension anyway. So yeah, definitely need to chop that guard out more. Right, apologies. I get the feeling in this video that I will be jumping ahead quite a bit without yous. I've got 1, maybe 2 days off before the start of Drift South season, and this is still the state of the vehicle. So just appreciate it. Sometimes I just got to get stuff done. I'll fill you in where I can. So rear arms all off a powder coat. I've installed new front wheel bearings, so yeah, they're all good to go now, new front wheel bearings, so that front end can somewhat go back together. I need to put a new dust boot on, not this caliper, but one of the other calipers for my big brakes to go back on the front. The rear brakes, I used to run Evo Brembos, there for the foot brake, and then the old factory caliper for the hydro. I've made already a dual caliper kit to suit dual Evo calipers, but Evo calipers are extremely hard to find these days. So Part Shop Max have remanufactured the Z33 and well NR32, but the Z33 ones look the same as the Evo ones. They run the same pads, they look the same, just very different bolt spacing. So I just, well, it's outside, but I just made a bracket to suit that. So now that I got dual Brembos on the rear, basically I want to paint my calipers, and then the front end can go back together. And yeah, same with the rear end. Got to wait for the stuff to get powder coating, and the rear end can go back together. Then it's mostly just alignment stuff. So the car has been stalling out, losing crank trigger signal. So firstly I need to find out why. Realistically there'd only really be two options. One, wiring. Two, something physical like with the with the crank trigger setup. Maybe it's moving, fretting, something like that, and it's freaking out. It only does it under a random certain situation, so I'll be interested to see what that certain situation is. But yeah, because I don't have a cam signal, when it does drop out, the car completely stalls. So I should have a cam signal anyway, so that's what I'm doing. I've just pulled cam gears off, about to pull this backing plate off. I've got to come up with a spot. That looks like a cable. There we go. To mount this, couple options. I can put it through there, through the back, and then drill and tap or whatever. Put a magnet, something for it to use as a pickup. With that, is probably going to be the simplest way, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, that's what I think I'm going to do. So pull this backing plate off. Got spare head, cams, cam cover to figure out how much, well, make sure everything fits. So yeah, that's all my spare stuff, because I have no real fabrication gear at home. So car is kind of untowable at the moment, being in pieces, and it'd be a bit silly to tow the whole car down there just to do a bracket. So I'm going to take all my spares down to Willie's place, and I'll make a bracket to mount this guy. So here's a basic rundown of the plan. Put a grub screw in the back of the alloy cam gear so that the magnet has something to pick up. This needs to go in around here somewhere. The thing is that air gap is already pretty tight. So what I'm going to do is get a bit of steel. Going to machine a hole in here and here, so that locates nicely in there. Weld shape and then weld that to there. So I've got something sturdy. And then I'm going to make a spacer so that is, because that's going to be sitting somewhat like that. So that is spaced correctly and everything sits snugly, but I don't want that solidly attached, because if that's solidly attached there, if that spacer was solidly attached, I wouldn't be able to remove the cam covers. So I need to keep the welder part slim, and the bolt-on part can all come off out the way, so I can remove that. Hopefully that all works out and doesn't interfere with anything that's on the car. It shouldn't do, but you never know. So there is a wee plate that I made up to weld on to the back of there. So that sits in there and can thread into there. So it's probably going to sit like that, and I have to make a spacer so that they can be removed easily. So So while I'm mucking around with this cam gear in particular always had a bit of a wobble. I'm guessing at some point I probably used a washer that was too thin or a bolt that was too long, and it might have been tight but not tight enough, you know what I mean, and just fretted, and yeah, caused a bit of a rough face on it. So I'm just going to reface the front and rear on the lathe, and hopefully then we'll have a cam gear spin true. Well, I thought I was recording this, but I probably wasn't. So got that guy welded on there now, and Willie, wrong cam gear. And Willie has drilled and tapped this for me, so there's a wee grub screw in there now, so that you can see this is all alloy and that is steel. So every time that goes past, hopefully it should pick it up and we'll have a trigger. So now I've got the cam gear on. That's welded on, that's sat in there, and pull it out. Don't know if you'll be able to see, but the grub screw is just there. So what I need to do now is pop this in here, and I need to, I guess, use a feeler gauge or something, and set the air gap, which should be about 1 mil or less. Well, I'd try to aim for like 0.8 or something like that, probably should be right, so that I can then measure up and see what size spacer I need for this. Back over to the lathe now, it's got a bit of alloy bar, drill a hole in it and then nip her off at 21 mil, and that'll be my spacer. Yeah. Right, well that is it. I've got a spacer on there now, and I'll be able to hopefully run the wiring out of the way, maybe down the bottom and up through, but just about to get a rattle gun on here and give this a good old spin and see with a multimeter, see if this pickup actually works. Just give it a spin. Keep going. Hello, Scott from the future here. So whilst editing this video, I realised that I've most likely deleted a pile of footage. So I'll summarise. Cam trigger kit is now on the car, not currently set up in ECU. What else was I working on? All suspension is installed. I painted my brakes yellow. and I got the car ready, and I am gonna go to a track day in the next video. So yeah, so not really the best ending. I hate to do it this way, but you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess. But thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one, and you'll get to see how the car goes. Cheers.